Pokemon spin-offs have been in the making for over 2 decades now, and when you think of a spin-off, you may think of something like Pokemon Snap or Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. But what we're going to be talking about today is nothing like these. These two games are Pokemon Colosseum and Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness. These feel less like a spin-off and more like a fully fleshed out main series Pokemon game. With things like traditional battling and even new mechanics for battling, these feel like they can stand on their own. With that being said, let's talk about why these games are so good, starting with the story. Starting with Pokemon Colosseum, you play as Wes and you have to rescue shadow Pokemon that were darkened by Team Cypher. At the start of the game, you're stealing equipment from Team Snag'em and you come out with an Espeon and an Umbreon. After this, you see Folly and Truthly stealing Pokemon, and these two are using none other than the shadow Pokemon. After this, you meet your partner Rui and you go through and catch all of the shadow Pokemon with the Snag Machine. And if you catch all 48 of the shadow Pokemon, you can obtain a Ho-Oh. With Gale of Darkness being a sequel to Colosseum, Team Cypher are back at it again trying to dominate the world. This time, they create a Shadow Lugia, which steals the ship the SS Libra. Next, you find yourself playing as Michael in the Pokemon HQ lab. You then go on to meet Professor Crane and Lily. Lily asks you to find your lost sister Jovi at Kaminko's house. After finding your sister, you hear a report about the stolen ship. You then get the Snag Machine and have to start snagging the shadow Pokemon. You then learn that a gate village has a relic stone that can purify shadow Pokemon. Later, you get the Master Ball and you have to ride in a robotic Kyogre submarine to the Cypher stronghold. This is where your final battle to either catch or defeat Shadow Lugia will be. As you can tell, these two games have full stories, just like a mainline series Pokemon game would. While these stories are amazing, it's only half of what these games have to offer. Now, let's talk about the Battle Simulator. Both of these games have a battle simulator that's very similar to the Pokemon Stadium games. But with this, you can use Pokemon from the storyline and Pokemon from your Game Boy. For Pokemon Colosseum, we have two main game modes, being Colosseum Battle and Battle Now, with Colosseum Battle having various challenges to earn Poke Coupons, and Battle Now just being straight up battles with trainers. Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness also has this, along with the feature to import and export Pokemon through the Game Boy Advance. All of these battle mechanics worked very well, and they flowed very nicely in the game. These modes also had singles and doubles, and back in Gen 3, doubles was not very popular, so this was really good to see. This was really the building blocks for what we have now in Sword and Shield and Scarlet and Violet for battling. Now we've gone over some of the battling and some of the storyline, we can go over one of the most favorable part of these games, which is the difficulty. These games are widely regarded as some of the most difficult Pokemon games ever, even coming up to stuff like Platinum or Emerald. With Colosseum not having wild encounters, you're really limited on what Pokemon you can catch and how much XP you can get. Some wild encounters were added in XD, but this is in no way saying this game is easy. XD may be even harder. You again get limited XP and very limited items, and every single battle you face will be a double battle. Adding a new Pokemon on each side of the field really just adds another layer of complexity when you're making up your moves. You are also very limited on the moves you can get because there's not many TMs in the game. All of this coming together while also having a decent AI to battle against makes the games pretty hard. Moving on from the story mode, the bosses in the battle towers are also pretty difficult as well. Just for a random example, let's look at this guy. He has a very strong team with a bunch of pseudo-legendaries and a bunch of other strong Pokemon that can easily take you out. Now just imagine playing through 6 different Colosseums of trainers like this. That is something that made these games so difficult. Now if we take a look at Pokemon XD, we can see that they were not slowing down with these battles at all. These teams are just as hard as the ones in Colosseum. This lady has 3 stall Pokemon and then a Blissey that can heal itself over time with leftovers. She also has Attract on almost all of her Pokemon and Confuse Ray on 2 of them. This battle directly puts you on a timer and it's really difficult to get around. Now that we've gone over the difficulty, we can go over what were people's responses to these games. These games both sold 1 million copies each, which may not be a lot for a Pokemon game, but these are a spin-off game, so that is a very good number for these. Now for the people who have played this game, I would say the public response is amazing, and people love these games. I feel like this opens up the door for them to bring it back on the Switch so more people can experience it and find out what it is. The games were too good and had too good of a response for them to just lose it in time with an old system. There's actually a lot of people who even say these are their favorite Pokemon games ever. You may be thinking, well, someone's favorite is going to be these games, but no, it's actually a surprising amount of people who have these as their favorite games. And it's consistently at the top of a lot of people's tier list. Now that we've gone over the public response, we can get a summary and wrap this up. Overall, these are some of the most difficult and aesthetically pleasing Pokemon games, and they really deserve a comeback on the Switch. Next year, it'll be 2 decades since we've seen an installment in this series, and I don't think this series deserves that. It really set the grounds for Pokemon battling nowadays, and I think it really did popularize double battling. I'm really interested to see what everyone thinks about these games, so leave a comment on what your opinion on these games is. And make sure you tell me whether you think Colosseum or Gale of Darkness is better, because I know that's a pretty heated debate. If you enjoyed, leave a like and subscribe for more Pokemon videos.